Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day. Today, we are going to discuss the overview of psychology as a discipline. A very interesting subject, yet easily misunderstood by people. This is a very important subject because you will find later that psychology is applicable to all aspects of life. Now, let us discuss what does it mean by psychology. Can you guess what is the meaning of psychology? Psychology is a scientific study of human and animal behavior which include actions, thinking, and feelings. No, we psychologists are not mind readers. We cannot predict the future, and we are not psychiatrists. Very few of us are motivational speakers. Only some of us specializes in counseling, and they are called counseling psychologists. Only some of us specializes in mental illness, and they are called clinical psychologists. You will find later that there is more to psychology than just counseling and mental hospital. You have now gotten at least a general idea what psychology is. It is about behaviors, and we show certain behaviors every second, even during our sleep. Now, let me ask you this question. What are the goals of psychology? If you have understood the definitions of psychology, you will not give answers such as to read other people's mind, to motivate people in a few hours presentation, to treat mental disorder, or to counsel people with problems. I know they sound grand, but the goals of psychology are more comprehensive. Psychologists are interested to know about, number one, what behaviors we are talking about. That is, describing the behaviors. Number two, why those behaviors occur. That is, explaining the behaviors. Number three, when those behaviors will occur. That is, predicting the behaviors. And number four, how to control those behaviors. That is, changing the behaviors. So you see, we psychologists may do a lot of things than many would people imagine. You will understand this better when we list the subfields of psychology. Some of the major subfields in psychology are: number one, cognitive psychology; number two, developmental psychology; number three, physiological psychology; number four, experimental psychology; number five, social psychology; number six, clinical psychology; number seven, counseling psychology; number eight, educational psychology; and number nine, industrial and organizational psychology. You may notice that the field of psychology is so diverse. It is. And you may be asking, what is the elements that unite all these subfields? The answer is the focus on individual behavior. I will list some other subfields not listed in your readings, just to show how diverse and interesting the field of psychology is. Engineering psychology, environmental psychology, forensic and criminal psychology, health psychology, sports psychology, consumer psychology, political psychology, psychology of religion, traffic and transportational psychology, family psychology, child psychology, adolescent psychology, geriatric psychology, neuropsychology, cultural psychology, aviation psychology, media psychology, psychology of music, military psychology, peace psychology. The list goes on. Feeling excited? Me too. I'm sure now you are excited to know the history of psychology, although some students find history a boring subject. But psychology is too interesting to be boring. If you refer to both your book and the slides, there is a table that summarizes the important historical event in modern psychology. A few famous names and schools of thought that you should know are: number 1, Wilhelm Wundt and Structuralism. Number 2, William James and Functionalism. Number 3, Sigmund Freud and Psychoanalysis. Number 4, Ivan Pavlov and Behaviorism. And Gestalt Psychology. However, today we no longer talk about school of psychology. Instead, we focus the 6 basic perspectives in psychology. The 6 basic perspectives are: number 1, psychoanalytic perspective that focuses on the unconscious factors that influence behavior. Number 2, behavioristic perspective that focuses on the environmental factors that influence behavior. Number 3, humanistic perspective that focuses on the conscious inner factors that influence behavior. Number 4, cognitive perspective that focuses on the cognitive factors that influence behavior. Number 5, biological perspective that focuses on the biological factors that influence behavior. And number 6, evolutionary perspective that focuses on the evolutionary factors that influence behavior. Some of these perspectives have their own proponents, and you should get to know them more. As you can see, some of the schools of thought no longer exist, but some of their ideas have been incorporated in one or more of the basic perspectives mentioned. Now, it's time to know, how do psychologists know a lot, and quite accurate too, about human behavior and animal behavior? Everybody thinks they know about other people's behavior. Your grandmother may have given your mother some advice about how to raise kids. Your friends may have advised you on how to solve a personal problem. In fact, you yourself had given some advice to others related to behaviors. But these advice are not based on data collected and analyzed scientifically. So, you might have guessed by now that psychologists follow systematic and scientific procedures when conducting research. You may be asking, how do psychologists conduct research? We have many ways to conduct research. We will now discuss the research methodology used by psychologists. Some of the major research methodology used are: number 1, naturalistic observation. Number 2, case studies. Number 3, surveys. Number 4, correlational research. And number 5, experimental research. You may be asking, which one is the best method? The answer is not as simple as you might think. Each method has its own advantages and disadvantages, and they are discussed in your book. By knowing the advantages and disadvantages, psychologists are better able to know the limitation of their theories and be open-minded to alternative interpretations. I believe this is a positive thing because it encourages us to keep on exploring and studying about human behavior. After all, the psychology of human being is still one of the biggest mysteries in the universe. One of the main criticisms of psychological research is the issue of external validity. The question of external validity is, are psychologists so sure that the results and interpretations that they obtain from their research will be the same if the research is conducted again, and especially in a different setting, for example, natural setting? the choice of research methodology is not that simple too, because we have to deal with some ethical issues or dilemma. For example, should John B. Watson be allowed to instill fear on a 1-year-old little Albert in order to find out how phobia is developed among human beings? Should Stanley Milgram be allowed to lie to participants that they are administering real electrical shocks to learner, when in fact they are not, just to find out to what extent people will obey even if the instruction is destructive? The point here is, it is not an easy choice to choose between trying to find out the truth about human behavior and at the same time to protect their welfare. Well, that's all for today. I hope you have learned a lot about psychology today. I wish you every success in your journey to describe, to explain, to predict, and to change human and animal behaviors. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.